lineup of panelists, a real mix of business owners as well as business leaders. I'm really keen to unpack us going through and navigating these challenging times and making sure that we all come out of it together with a stronger, future-proof business. So over the last 10.5 years that I've been at JCurve Solutions, there's never quite been a time like this. I just want to say a very quick shout out to our fantastic marketing team. We haven't had to throw away all of our marketing plans and strategies quite as dramatically as we have done to navigate these times. We've pivoted all of our content and allowed us to really support businesses as we go through these times. The engagement on our content has been really high, and our webinars and the number of participants on that is a real show of that. So thank you, Ellen and Amanda. I know you've been working really hard so that we can help support businesses during these times. Let me introduce our panelists. I'll be the moderator today, just really keen to keep the conversation going. We've got lots of great insights to uncover. I'm my Chief Marketing Officer at JCurve Solutions. As I mentioned, been with the company for over a decade, and I'm responsible for our sales, marketing and account management team, and really proud of how much the team have just really dug in and been really focused on providing good outcomes for our customers during these times. We've got Stephen Canning, our CEO, who has been leading JCurve Solutions for the last 5 years. In August, moved to Singapore and has been able to kind of share his insights, and will do today, around Singapore have been ahead of Australia, what Singapore been facing, and leading a team with workers in Australia, the Philippines and Singapore, and some of the challenges and opportunities coming out of that. So looking forward to that, Stephen. Welcome to Basil. Basil was actually one of our very first JCurve Solutions customers on our small business edition of NetSuite, JCurve ERP. Basil has a fantastic company and has grown into one of our largest success stories. Please do not go to Basil's website right now because we'll lose you. You'll get lost on there, but afterwards, yeah, absolutely. Go and check out Life Interiors. They're a fantastic they have showrooms. They have obviously been impacted with retail and social distancing, but have a really strong online and e-commerce presence as well. So really keen to understand more about how you not only facing the current challenges, Basil, but really committed to kind of coming out the other side in a really strong position as well. So welcome, Basil. We then have Brooke. So yeah, Brooke, I don't know, you've been working around the clock, so thank you for taking the time to be with us today. I think you've got either 5 webinars or interviews this week, and in hot demand by Bank West and Channel 9, so we really appreciate your time. I know you've been working with your fantastic team over in WA on helping businesses with their cash flow and their forecasting and their BAS and their remodeling, and also pivoting their strategies from a digital marketing perspective and a social media perspective to make sure that businesses are still continuing to kind of pivot and generate revenue through these times. And lastly, we've got Jason. So welcome, Jason. Over 13 years at Oracle NetSuite, so an absolute veteran. And what's really great about working with Jason is just see the level of passion and commitment for customers and delivering great customer outcomes through technology. And that will be really shown today with the number of customer stories that Jason has across Australia, but also the globe. NetSuite have over 19,000 customers, all being impacted in different ways, but also some really great stories of resilience coming through, businesses that are pivoting and really looking to make a real impact on the bounce back as well. So welcome, huge thank you again to all of our panelists. In terms of JCurve Solutions, who are we? And I think the thing that makes me really proud to be at JCurve Solutions is our team. We have a really committed and passionate team that are dedicated to creating fantastic customer outcomes by using technology. And that's really shown through over the last couple of months in the resilience that our team has shown in navigating this challenge and staying really, really focused on our customers, really helping them to improve business visibility and performance into the operations, including looking at things like cash flow and making sure that they've got the right data at their fingertips to make some decisions as we navigate through COVID-19. And we've been helping businesses, and we'll cover some of what we've been doing with that today, in terms of allowing them to run their teams remotely where that's possible, and also be able to really continue to be productive during this time. As well as being NetSuite's top partner globally by number of customers, we also have our own technology in Rio, and the Rio solution is a really modern solution for service-based businesses, allowing businesses to get the right people with the right skills on the right jobs at the right time. And we're seeing a real interesting wave of demand coming through from Rio, with more people needing more services in homes or more at-home deliveries. I know I've been to the post office multiple times since being at home and through my online deliveries, and not having great visibility into that piece. And so, yeah, that's where we see Rio really being able to add some value to these businesses as well. Great. So in terms of our agenda, very soon I'll stop doing all of the talking and pass over to our panelists. We do have a really full agenda and able to kind of, walk through things like cash flow, financial modelling, what have been some of the disruptions to supply chains that we're seeing, but then those stories of resilience in terms of focusing on customer retention and revenue opportunities, allowing companies to quickly adapt to changes. The working from home, which is now classed largely as the new norm. Is it short term? Is it changing the way that we're going to be working forever? How the role of technology is playing within all of that, and what are some of the ideas around future-proofing the business to get through the other side, but come out with a much stronger and sound operating model as well. So let's jump into business confidence, and Stephen, I might get you to start with this one. You've seen Singapore before Australia, gave us a heads up on what was coming. I'm not sure we all believed you how serious it was at first, and certainly, Singapore has been a few waves ahead, so interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Kate, and good morning, everyone. It's great to be here. Look, what you're looking at here is some business confidence surveys from the territories that JCurve Solutions operates in, and I think you can see the graphs speak for themselves, don't they? In Australia, there's a significant downturn in business confidence, as you can see there, and similarly with the Philippines. Singapore, confidence has been falling for a little while, as you can see from that graph. I'm expecting the next survey to show a very significant downturn. The COVID-19 situation in Singapore has been deteriorating recently. As Kate said, I think Singapore, we went into this earlier than Australia for sure, and the tracking and the tracing was excellent in the early days, but recently we've seen a significant deterioration. So I'm really expecting to see a big downturn in the confidence in Singapore. Interestingly, though, for China, we can see there was a complete collapse in confidence in February. but a strong rebound in March. Obviously, China has started to open up again. They did see some increase in cases, but confidence has bounced back, hasn't it? So I think for me, Kate, the interesting question is that going to continue in China? And is that kind of a bounce back going to be reflected elsewhere in the world? I think it's going to be interesting to see.
Absolutely. Jason, I'm sure you're loving doing forecasting calls as a sales director at the moment.
Yes, it's definitely a moving target right now. Whereas, yeah, look, we've seen a lot of organisations, as we're all aware of, that have, I suppose, that confidence has really gone down. So it's not that they've been, in all cases, been affected terribly badly. They're just really holding on to see what's going to be happening in the future. We've definitely seen organisations and industries that have taken a significant hit, whether that's been in the retail, the hospitality type industries. But then on the converse side, we've also seen some organisations that have gone from strength to strength during this time. And they're the organisations that, for example, the liquor industry, if they're sort of a B2C, sort of delivering to consumers rather than to the hotels and restaurants, etc., then we've had one organisation say it was like Christmas every day for them. So they're in a very lucky position, but the majority, they've definitely seen a negative impact based on this condition now.
Yeah, absolutely. I think what we found 6 weeks back, everyone was cautiously optimistic. 3 to 4 weeks ago, all projects were pretty much on hold and we had lots of meetings being cancelled. And over the last 1 to 2 weeks, have really started to re-engage as businesses start to look at taking advantage of this time to get the business and the technology and the systems in place, ready to come out the other side.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think the month of end of February and March were really a period of let's just wait and see what's going to happen. But we've definitely seen an upturn in interest now. Organisations that are either sort of getting back in to try and get business as usual as much as possible, but also organisations that this whole isolation period has really made them have a good look at their business. It's given them time to have a look at the systems they're using and try and improve that so they can hit the ground running once things open up again.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's move on to consumer confidence and Basil, we might jump over to you on this one. You've got retail, you've got showrooms, and you've got online. How are you finding consumer confidence?
I mean, consumer, from my perspective and experience in the last several weeks, it sort of mirrors what I guess businesses as a whole was feeling, and that is up until we had the closures in New South Wales, everything was strong, and there was a little bit of business we're talking, consumers not so much, and then when it sort of hit, then we just saw sales across the board just. It looked like everything had stopped for sort of that week or two, businesses and consumers. So, and off the back of sort of 2 weeks, and I think off the back of the stimulus package the government has put together locally, what we're seeing is less conversation about that insecurity, even though obviously as a whole, there are certain industries that have been hit extremely hard. And what we've seen is retail our physical stores haven't obviously rebounded, but online has gone from strength to strength. So we've seen for our specific business as opposed to the industry as a whole, which is finding it hard, we're actually seeing confidence pick up slightly, but people are still a little bit hesitant, very similar to what businesses were going through a couple of weeks ago as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with so much uncertainty, it's hard to be confident, but good to hear that things seem to be certainly moving in the right direction. So let's jump across to cash flow. And we might go to you first, Brooke. I know you've been doing lots of cash flows. How frequently are you doing cash flow reporting with businesses at the moment?
Look, Kate, I think a couple of weeks ago when it really sort of hit Australia, we, I guess, were inundated with our clients just trying to help them forecast. And this was particular before the stimulus packages were released. And, there was a lot of uncertainty around. And so we did a lot of different modelling and forecasting particularly for clients to sort of see their way through to the next couple of months, but also through to December and what their year-to-date figures are going to look like. So we've been working with that, but most recently we've been working with a lot of our clients on weekly cash flows and just reporting back to them and what's coming up. And you know, there's different payments that are just about to arrive into businesses' bank accounts, particularly here in Australia, from the ATO and the government, and just looking at best ways to kind of either preserve their war chest in terms of funds, or you know, what they need to do to survive these next couple of months and get through.
Yeah, and what are some of the initiatives that you're seeing businesses looking at from new and alternative revenue streams?
Oh, definitely the online. You know, we've definitely seen a lot of customers looking at how they can be selling their service on product online if they are unable to do that in terms of coming to a retail store or buying their product face to face. So that's definitely been a way of moving that revenue stream. And I think just, yeah, thinking outside the square and looking at other opportunities, like what else can they provide, and just pivoting slightly to maybe make their service slightly different. So we've seen some of our clients that have gone from selling their tiles fully in stores to now putting their whole store on an e-commerce, you know, and making that really easily available for their customers.
I'm sure you've spent a lot of time poring over the government stimulus announcements as they're coming out.
Yes, definitely. You know, and particularly this week with the JobKeeper payment, there's been a lot of uncertainty about who is eligible for it, who's not, how to apply. Having the cash flow, this has been a major problem, Kate, with the government releasing this funding to employers, but they have to actually pay their employees up front before the end of April for the month of April. And there's a lot of businesses that possibly don't have that cash flow available, particularly if they've got a large number of employees, because that payment won't be reimbursed until May, sort of, they're saying around sort of 8th of May, around that time. So there's a real kind of little balance there. If you've got a lot of employees, how is that going to work? And then, of course, there was the SME guarantee line credits from the banks that was meant to be available. Now that's kind of been held back a little bit too, and that's uncertain. So there's been a lot of pressure on businesses to pay their staff and then hold out to receive the money. So it's been very, very stressful for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, I can imagine. And how are you working with businesses through that process?
It's definitely using our cash flow and working and having the conversations, looking at different scenarios, looking at, you know, where possibly they can, you know, bring money in to pay for the JobKeeper for the moment while it's actually, you know, gets put in place. Because once businesses register for JobKeeper, they will get it for the next 6 months. So it's really just going to be this tight moment right now that they need to sort of work through that. So it's just us looking at that and what it will look like for their businesses. So that's been our main point. And also with the cash flow stimulus, the PAYG payments that are going into clients' integrated client accounts as of, they said the 28th, but they've already started. So that's also looking at that and how they can utilise that money coming back into their businesses as well to help support them over the next 6 months.
Yeah, brilliant. And Stephen, there's a lot of similar but slightly different initiatives across Singapore and the Philippines.
Yeah, that's right, and we're staying abreast of all the various assistance packages that are available to ourselves and to our customers in all the territories that we operate. But it is changing very, very quickly, and as Brooke says, that something that may get announced, the practicalities of how that actually gets implemented is not always clear. So I think it's really a question of managing your cash flows whilst you're in this period of uncertainty, and we've certainly done a lot of work ourselves in that area in JCurve Solutions.
Yeah, absolutely. We're a publicly listed company, so we have a responsibility obviously to our customers, to our employees and to our shareholders. So talk us through what's been the process we've been going through at JCurve Solutions.
Yeah, so at JCurve Solutions, we've been conducting a detailed review of our budgets and our expenditures. I'm sure many businesses have been doing, and so we've gone through all of our costs line by line to see where the opportunities are to reduce costs. Now, clearly, some costs are, maybe contractual obligations or business critical. But what we've done is we've looked at all of our discretionary spend and looked to re-justify that spend. I have a mini business case, if you like. So, what is the justification for spending this money? What made sense 6 months ago might not make sense now, and it definitely might not make sense in today's COVID-19 world. But for us, it's not just about cutting costs, of course. It's about being strategic. It's about looking for more efficiencies that we can find, for example, through more automation. It's about engaging with all of our employees and asking for their ideas and suggestions. Where are the opportunities that we can take advantage of now, and where are hidden revenue streams, for example. So yeah, you're right, Kate. There's a lot of work that we've put into this in recent times.
Another big thing, Kate, I just also thought I'd mention is that there's a lot of businesses out there that are holding back, not paying other businesses. So just be really mindful of that impact as well. So you've got to really balance out, that if you're not paying your suppliers, like what's that going to do to their business as well? So just be really mindful of that cash flow for the businesses that you're working with, because we're all in this together. So just be really mindful of that, what the impact that's going to have on other businesses.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point, Brooke, and really good tip on how we do make sure that our impact doesn't flow on and keep flowing on. I know I was talking to one of our customers. They sell a lot of products into cafes and restaurants, and yeah, they have a lot of outstandings, and there is a lot of unknown. What's key for them is making sure they have, and they're spending a lot of time making sure that they're looking at their cash flow and which other customers that are potentially at risk that may not be paying as well.
That's right. And we'll, look at possible payment plans or other options, because if you're not paying them, they can't pay their staff, and it's just that vicious cycle. So if you can't afford, or if you're in that situation, have the conversation with your suppliers. Don't just hold back and not discuss. Put a payment plan in place so that then, you both have the benefit of working together in the future as well, and those relationships aren't tarnished.
Absolutely. Communication in all of this is key.
Definitely.
Supply chain. So let's jump into financial modelling and reforecasting, and how do you reforecast when there is so much uncertainty? Brooke, we might start with you again on this one.
Sure. I think it goes back to Kate is, looking at obviously your original budgets as well that you've probably set for this financial year, and possibly changing those budgets in line with what's happening. But that constant reforecasting and using those tools that are available for you in this accounting softwares is really critical right now. Make sure everything is up to date, make sure all your bookkeeping's done, everything's reconciled, and just have a constant clear picture of your business, and reforecasting for different situations that are going to occur. And as Stephen said, things are changing daily. There's possibly more stimulus packages, more payments, possibly not. What is that going to look like to your business? So I think it's more than ever, it's critical to be on top of having everything up to date, so you can have a clear picture of your business and which direction it's going to go into at any time. And plus, if you're going to get funding from the banks as well, although they're saying with the line of credit that's going to become available, you're still going to need to show reporting as well. So it's very critical. Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, we have a very comprehensive and sophisticated scenario modelling in place, looking at all of our triggers and to make sure that we can track the various challenges or opportunities that are coming through. Talk us through that. I'm sure our CFO James has had a few sleepless nights pulling it all together, but now we've got a great model. So yeah, it'd be great to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, certainly. Look, we all know that cash is king, and my awesome CFO reminds me of that every day. And we all have to forecast, don't we? We know that. But as you said earlier, how do you forecast the unknowable? We're in uncharted territory here, aren't we? The Black Swan event. There's no models for this. So what we've done is built a comprehensive model of our business that enables us to test all the various scenarios and the impacts that they have on our cash and P&L. So we've got years of history of our business in NetSuite. So we understand the seasonality and the demographics of our business and the drivers of our business. So we built a model where we can change some of the inputs to that model to simulate various scenarios. So, for example, sales levels, customer churn rates, average sale price, the effect of government incentives and assistance. And we've done that for all of our business units by location and so on. Now, you don't have to have fancy budgeting tools to do that. You can do that in Excel, but I strongly believe you have to do it. And we update that model. Every week we look at the latest figures and we tweak and we refine our model so we can see what's going to happen to our cash and P&L in various scenarios. That way we know, for example, so like if this number gets to here, then we've got to do this or pull this lever. And with a model like this, we can do that planning and we can make the decisions of what we'll do in various scenarios before those scenarios eventuate, if they do, because we don't want to rush into knee-jerk decisions if a scenario eventuates. And that's the benefit we get from all the effort we've put into the detailed modeling of the various scenarios.
And definitely working, I think, on your break-even point. What is your break-even point in the business, and making sure that that's in line with where the business is now, and really looking at that if you've had to, obviously, if you're not paying rent anymore, or what's happening in the business, and really looking at that. And as Stephen said, it's like looking at those different scenarios. Is there going to be a 30% decline in revenue, 50%? Or even only 10%, and having those forecasting reports there for you. So as Stephen said, you're not going to make a knee-jerk decision in terms of possibly having to lay off staff or anything like that if it's not necessary.
Talk a little bit about supply chain challenges in all of that. We've heard a lot of stories across our customer base of having supply chain disruptions, whether that is increasing delivery times or lack of communication from suppliers overseas. But also we've got Australian dollar as well. So when businesses are transacting in US dollars, they're now struggling with rising costs as well. Basil, you've got some interesting insights into the supply chain and what you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, the challenges we've had over the last 6 or 8 weeks are sort of like 10 years into 6 weeks. I mean, it changes literally every week or two. So obviously started with, we've got a diverse supply chain. We work with local suppliers in Australia, in Sydney and Melbourne. We ship product out of Southeast Asia and through China as well. And all we could do, obviously, China locked down initially. We couldn't get product out of there. Now we're finding it difficult to get product out of Vietnam and out of Malaysia, because the factories are all locked up in those countries as well. So the only and the other side right now is on the supply chain. We've got some product in the country, getting it to customers now because e-commerce is just boomed. So all I can say with regards to the supply chain is maintain communication with the customers. Our experience to date is customers are understanding, as long as you bring them in and you're honest and with them about what's happening. They want to understand that the business is still running and viable. So you've got to give them that confidence, and things have just been delayed slightly. And then sort of tying it back into a little bit into the cash flow. And if we can't get product from one supplier, we just simply, and the demand is still there, we're just pivoting either to another country and or to our local suppliers and tapping into inventory that's already in the country to ensure that, and that's what we've done. We've onboarded new products from local suppliers, which has ensured that we've got revenue is still turning through the business, and profitable revenue still turning through the business. And these local wholesalers as well are looking for other avenues to sell product. So that's a way for us in terms of how we've navigated that supply chain across those different geographic locations.
And I think, yeah, having that flexibility and agility and allowing you to kind of really look at what is selling at the moment and what can you sell and where can you get that from is fantastic. Jason, we only need to go down to the local supermarket at the moment to face supply chain disruptions. You've been working with a lot of businesses that have had some pretty challenging times when it comes to supply chain.
Yeah, look, absolutely. And I think this, you know, similar to what Basil was mentioning, I think this, the situation that the globe is in has really highlighted the fact that organisations and businesses need alternate sources to obtain the goods that they're selling and alternate supply chains for them. You know, and we're seeing a lot of our organisations in ANZ starting to now source where they used to source potentially from China or Asia, etc. They're now starting to look at local providers just because of the challenges of being able to ship goods in. Yeah, the patients, you know, the organisations are definitely, individuals and consumers are definitely far more patient now. But it's those organisations that can really pivot quickly and can change their supply chain within the systems that they're running their business with quickly. They're the ones that can really take advantage of some new opportunities, etc. So we're seeing a lot of organisations within the NetSuite customer base that have been able to really jump on some of these new opportunities by just moving away from sort of their traditional suppliers and opening up new sources to market.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and it's also a great transition into our next topic of the value of customer retention, and as well as obviously looking at new customers, how to make sure that you're protecting the customers that you already have. So, Brooke, what are you finding at the moment in the market? You do a lot in the digital marketing and social media space, and you've been working with businesses as they look at where can they protect revenue from at these times.
Yeah, definitely. I think the first initial reaction to a lot of businesses was just to freeze everything, and there was no spend, and particularly people wanted to cut their marketing straight away. But we've found that it's actually really important now to have a strong digital presence in the world. We are all sitting here behind our computer screens, behind our phones. There's no time on the presence to get your business out and, you know, into the digital world. So, and from that, you know, that's where you can create new sales, you can create new customers. You know, if you originally had a store, you know, you would have to wait for those people to walk past to see your store or, you know, look at your marketing that way. Whereas now you can reach hundreds and thousands of people online and showcase what you have available, which will often then increase sales. And we know now that customers often will have more than, you know, over 20 touches with the business before they want to buy from that business. So having an online presence and a digital strategy can really make that digital touch a lot quicker. And they now build confidence in buying with you. And I'm sure, Basil, you've had that with your business turning online and having a strong digital presence, is that you'll find that people will have a lot more confidence to buy from you and buy more products possibly as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, our experience with, I guess, in terms of customer retention has sort of been two-pronged, and that is our experiences. We've found that, and we're targeting obviously our existing client base, and obviously trust is an important component of that. And I think, well, what we're finding actually is we've run some EDM campaigns out to existing customers, bought from us once, 2 times, and 3 times. And what we're finding is customers who've interacted with us beforehand obviously trust the brand, and in this climate where consumers are a little bit hesitant, in our industry we've had other businesses go down. Is important for them to know that we are a trusted brand. So that's worked really well for us. And on the other thing as well, in terms of not necessarily retention in the sense of obviously retaining existing clients, but obviously reaching out into the digital forums. And our experience has been a lot more people are sitting on their computers at home. There's a lot more audience there, and a lot of big media buyers in the industry have pulled out. And there's a lot of potential for you to acquire people a lot cheaper than you historically would have acquired. So that's our experience. But once again, it's about sort of dipping your toe in, getting those metrics coming back. And then when you get those lessons, really sort of push through with that insight. And there are opportunities to reach new audiences, definitely.
Great. And Jason, what has been really great as a partner of NetSuite is to see NetSuite really come through and look at how they can support customers during this time?
Look, absolutely. Historically, NetSuite has helped, help their customers, help retain their customers through growth. We've helped organisations grow. But the way things have changed in the recent weeks and months, the focus has really switched to really just trying to help and understand the pains that some of our customers are going through. Really being transparent, really being empathetic to some of the business challenges and hiccups that they're going through, and trying to, I suppose, just help them sustain and maintain their business rather than help them grow right now. So the focus is really on retention and retaining the business rather than the growth of those organisations. So we are doing some things like we're trying to be as flexible as we can around various licensing and payment terms and things of that nature, as many organisations are doing for their customer bases. But what we're also doing is providing sort of free training for all our customers, for example. So when things do open up again, they can have better access and better manage NetSuite within their organisations, so they can, I suppose, get back to where they were very, very quickly.
That's brilliant, and we really appreciate all of the support that we're getting on that. As you say, training is key, and I know that even us as a business, we've been rolling out training sessions, helping customers with their cash flow and their dashboards and their reportings, and had over 200 customers on each one of those.
Absolutely. And just if I can just add to that, sorry, and as Brooke mentioned before, one of the key things in these times is to have real-time access to the information of your business, so you can make those really, really quick decisions that you need to make, and the training's helping organisations better do that.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a bit of a change. I think one of the words and one of the buzzwords coming through from COVID-19 is pivoting the business. And there's, it seems like for every story of a business doing bad, we seem to have businesses that are showing that real resilience and grit. So let's talk firstly, Basil. Would love to hear about your strategy. I know you've been a big believer in e-commerce and online for a long time, but what are some of the things that you're finding that has allowed you to really pivot towards or double down on?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's for each channel. In our case, in our industry, I guess COVID-19 has really sort of condensed, I think, 10 years worth of trends going forward into 3 to 6 months. So it's really exaggerating some key trends there. So for us, we're doubling down. We've obviously been a NetSuite and JCurve customer for 10 years now, and we're doubling down in terms of really increasing our e-commerce across a lot of other verticals. We've got domain names like rugs.com.au and basil.com.au. So we're really doubling down on that e-commerce side of things, and also in terms of pivoting our showrooms back to experience. So the next day or two, we're releasing our sort of by appointment and really educating the team to let them know that our showrooms are really about the consultation, about the experience, and the website can handle the transactional load. So for us, it ensures from a social distancing perspective, there aren't a lot of people in the showroom at any particular point in time, and the team feel comfortable and customers feel comfortable and they get the attention that they need. So we've made a couple of changes there in terms of pivoting the business and doubling down on existing trends that we're seeing play out in the market at the moment.
Yeah, that's really great, taking advantage of where there is, and I'm sure home office furniture is one of those trends.
Definitely.
Obviously, they got a new desk, new chair, new office set up, which also doubles as the puppy's bedroom. Jason, NetSuite has some really great examples of businesses that have changed what they're actually producing.
Look, absolutely, and look, similar to Life Interiors, we've seen a lot of organisations, both NetSuite customers and all customers or prospects and other organisations that are looking to NetSuite because they want to move into that e-commerce space. So online is king right now. It's easy, as Basil mentioned. Everyone's at home, everyone's on a computer, so it's very, very easy to go online and purchase what you want. I can justify that. My wife has definitely taken advantage of a lot of those options online. But also we've seen a lot of companies that are outside of just the online space and e-commerce that have just really just moved their business. I've just got a couple of examples here around the PPE space, that is really, really kicking off right now. And so we've got organisations, one of which used to manufacture gin. So now they've completely stopped the gin manufacturing, and now they're manufacturing sanitizers, for example. Another organisation used to provide bottles, etc., for shampoos and things of that nature. Now they're holding sanitizing, so they're providing all those because we just didn't have enough of the bottles to hold the sanitizers in the country. So now all these other organisations are just pivoting quickly, what they used to manufacture into, I suppose, merchandise and things that we really, really need right now. So there's some great opportunities. We've got another one that's used to provide a brewery. If you went to Sweet Connect, you would have seen them. Two Birds Brewery. They used to have brew all their beer in kegs, and now apparently kegs, the beer doesn't last terribly long, and you don't see many houses with kegs. It's all the hotels and things of that nature. So they've had to redo that, and now they're bottling that now, and have developed a drive-through for their customers to be able to go in and purchase. So there's a lot of really good. There's a lot of terrible stories. A lot of businesses really struggling, but there are, on the converse side, as I mentioned earlier, there's a lot of really, really good stories and clever stories of some of the things that the customers are doing.
Absolutely. Two Birds have been a great customer of ours for some time. They started kind of outsourcing the beer. Now they've got their brewery in Melbourne, and obviously that is closed down at the moment, but their restaurant is now doing 2 home deliveries as well. And I certainly had a case of beer turn up yesterday, so my fridge is nicely stocked, so they're certainly doing 2. Great. Let's move on to a topic which I'm sure a lot of businesses are dealing with for the first time. Stephen, we might start with you. I think as a business, JCurve Solutions has done this particularly well. I think we're in the cloud, but that's only part of the puzzle. So do you want to share some of your experiences on what we've gone through at JCurve?
Yeah, certainly. So I've been through the execution of a business continuity plan quite a few times, actually. I was in Christchurch, New Zealand, when the earthquakes hit, and in Australia we've executed our business continuity plan a couple of times in our offices. I think once for a power outage, once for flooding. In our Manila office, we executed our business continuity plan when a nearby volcano erupted. So we've had a bit of practice, actually. And we're very fortunate as a company because we were born in the cloud. We have all the cloud technology solutions, and we're very used to working with our customers remotely. So our COVID-19 business continuity execution was seamless. That's great. But I think this time it's different. Why? Because unlike other times, we know we're not going to be back in the office in a week, a month, or who knows how long. This time there's a global crisis, and this time all of our staff and all of our people they're rightly concerned. We all are, and so this is where having a great company culture, values, and having really, really good communication are absolutely critical. So I think it's really, really important that everyone in your organization is clear what your company goals are, and specifically what your company goals are at this point in time as we go for these challenging times. So for JCurve Solutions, we have 3 immediate goals. It's really about looking after our employees, looking after our customers, and looking after our business. So for our employees, we're making sure that whilst everyone's working at home, that we're communicating transparently, openly, honestly, and courageously. So we're talking about the things that do make people uncomfortable, and we're encouraging people to ask questions that are uncomfortable, and that's helping the communication flow, and it's helping give all of our employees that sense of stability and safety that they, I believe, they want, and there's very little of that out there right now. Second goal is looking after our customers. And Kate, you've heard me say this so many times, and I stole a Steve Martin quote. We need to be so good that our customers can't ignore us, and that means all of us putting ourselves into our customers' shoes, being empathetic with our customers and their situation. And now is the time when all of us have got to make sure that what we deliver to our customers is the best it's ever been. The customer experience is the best. The communication is the best it's been, because the companies that get through this challenging time are the best. They're going to be the ones that are so in touch with their customers and taking great care of their customers that their customers won't even consider cutting back, or if they have to, they'll cut back the least that they possibly can. And it comes back to that customer loyalty. And our third goal is looking after our company. So yes, focusing on our financials and being prudent, but also about being innovative and flexible and adaptable, and getting all of our employees to think out of the box. I think it was Brooke who mentioned that earlier. Your employees are an amazing source of information and ideas. So yeah, gotta make sure you tap into that. And having a great culture and company values, and making sure that people are living those values whilst they're working from home is vital. At the JCurve Solutions, we've been passionate about our values for many years, but now more than ever, we need them now. And like a lot of companies, our values are really around working together and teamwork and great communication. And it's everything that we need right now, especially whilst we're all working from home. So, we've really focused on making sure we've got that communication. I joke that sometimes my role should be, Chief Reminding Officer, because it's all about saying the same thing and repeating it. You can't over communicate in scenarios like this when everyone is working from home. So we have a weekly all hands company meeting. Some teams have daily stand-ups. It's really, really crucial, I believe, to keep that communication going.
Yeah, totally agree. And I think the other one is the virtual coffees, which we've got different team members are jumping on virtual coffees as well. That goes nicely in terms of culture. How do you keep a culture alive, Jason? NetSuite are very big on culture and used to having a lot of interaction. Talk us through how you're doing and dealing with that.
Look, it is, and look, to be honest, it's very similar to Stephen. I know JCurve is a very culture-based organisation as well. So that's probably the toughest thing. The actual move to working from home and having access to the things we need to work with has been very seamless. We use NetSuite day to day when we're in the office, and being that it's in the cloud, we can use it just as easily from home. So that part of it's really has been quite seamless and easy. It's really that culture, maintaining the culture and that's sort of I suppose the person to person type activities. It's been a little bit of adjustment needed. So like yourselves, we have bi-weekly sort of all hands. So we'll have 230 odd people on a Zoom, similar to today. Whereby everyone will just have a chat. It's not about work. It's almost like a virtual walk around the office. So we're not talking about forecasting or anything of that nature. It's all about what did you do on the weekend, and just things that are completely non-work related, just to encourage that chatter that you get within the office typically. The other things that we're trying to do are things like we've had some of the groups within the team that have done they've had sort of singing contests and entertainment contests and things like that. So just trying to change it up a bit. We'll have Friday afternoon drinks via Zoom, etc. So it's thank goodness for Zoom, because that is the closest thing we can have to I suppose a face-to-face type interaction with someone. But we have also found that it's extremely exhausting. Staring at a screen all day is tiring. So we really encourage all the guys to just take at least an hour a day out, go up, have a walk, do something outside of the computer, just to try and keep yourself that sanity there, and just to try and I suppose remove the instance of having sore eyes and being tired and really I suppose overdoing it.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I know running a team and everyone's home situation is slightly different, and knowing who might need more checking in. Salespeople like to talk to people and thrive off that energy of other people. So making sure that we've got that right level of mix of communication happening. Basil, so you've gone from having, I think, one person 1 day a week working from home to having a large part of your team now working from home. How's that transition been?
It's been pretty seamless. We've had to make a few little changes, but yeah, we went from even our Philippines team went from their offices to working from home, to all our back office, and even some showroom members as well working from home. So the only part that we hadn't had in the cloud, which we ran in the cloud, was our phone system wasn't cloud-based. So we kicked off a cloud-based phone system, and now you can take calls from home and interact in the showroom as well. So for us, the technology was there. We've been in the cloud for a better part of 10 years now. So that was seamless, but it was the human component. And for us, the things that have made a difference are we use Google Hangouts every morning at 9 o'clock. Everyone jumps on for a 10 or 15 minutes to connect. Everything gets recorded. So if you've missed it, you can go back and listen to it. Especially early on, people a team were scared. I didn't know what was happening. I'd been following this for a long time. And so I just sent through some information to the team, paid for a Headspace app, which is an app for sort of mindfulness as well. So gave the team the ability to download that app, and we'd pay for that as a business as well. And the other thing is sort of randomly during the week, we'll arrange food delivery through an Uber Eats to go to their house, or a chocolate or whatever it may be, just to make sure that something random pops up at home, as opposed to just just to create that connectivity and a talking point as well. So there are a few little things that we've rolled out of across the team on the human side. Like I said, our technology has allowed us to work from home because we are, thank God, cloud-based. So we haven't had to make that transition as well as everything else at the same time.
That's really nice. I really like that, and it leads us naturally into our last point around the role of technology. We've covered this quite a bit, so in the interest of time, we won't go too deep into this. But Jason, you're aware of businesses that aren't able to kind of do their operations from home at this point and need to go into an office.
Look, absolutely. We're speaking to a lot of businesses that are absolutely going through that. They've gone past the point of, okay, let's wait and see what's happening, and they realise that this whole isolation business is going to probably continue for a number of months. So they're now really trying to find, how do I better manage my business remotely now? So I've got colleagues of mine that have got partners that are working for organisations that exactly that. They still have to go to work because they don't have access. They're in the finance team and they do not have access to the financial information to do their job, so they've got to go to the office still. So it's those sorts of businesses that are really taking a bit of taking advantage of this downtime, so they can help manage and avoid situations that they're currently in happening again.
Yeah, absolutely. So Basil, you've spoken about technology. You've been in the cloud for a long time. But what have NetSuite and other solutions that you use allowed you to really look at this point in time?
So I missed that first part. You just dropped out the first part of the sentence.
Yeah, that's the beauty of being on internet. It's been quite seamless so far, which is great. I was just asking in terms of what has NetSuite allowed you and the other technology solutions that you're doing, what's that allowed you to kind of look into and how's that allowed you to run the business?
Yeah, I guess from our perspective, NetSuite in particular is obviously such a rich platform, and there's always a feature or always functions that you sort of don't get around to implementing. For us, we're really focusing on, even though revenue and growing revenue is important, it's really reducing. The big focus for us right now from an ongoing sort of technology perspective is reducing the cost of business. While we might be pushing through this current climate, it's only as good as today. So for us, we're really sort of rebasing the business. And for us right now, the big investment of time and effort is really around workflow, streamlining workflows and using NetSuite software to really streamline those processes And because of its open framework, we've got an iPaaS solution which allows us to integrate into other third parties, and we're connecting through to our supply chain through other suppliers as well, and really starting to eliminate the unnecessary transactional work that's required to get an order through the system and get the team to focus on the higher value tasks. So that's where we're spending our energy at the moment. And the fact that everything is in the cloud and there's solutions out there, is pretty easy for us to connect and extract the information that we need to move forward.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So let's quickly summarise where we got to. We will still have time for a couple of questions at the end, but looking at future-proofing the business, so we've got some really great insights in terms of the importance of cash flow and reviewing all expenditure and maximising revenue opportunities wherever they may be at this point in time. The need to have options within a supply chain to minimise that disruption, but really keeping that communication flow between suppliers and customers, and then tapping into how to generate demand and where that demand is, being able to pivot strategies towards capturing that. We now have our new norm in working from home, and it'll be fascinating to see how long we are working from home and as the way that we work and interact changed for a long time or even forever. And then making sure that we've got the right technology platforms in place to allow us to operate our businesses and have teams being productive wherever they are. Quick wrap up from each of our panelists. Brooke, we might start with you.
Yeah, look, definitely we've been helping a lot of clients, particularly with the ecosystem side of things, and looking at how we can streamline technology. I think that's been really strong in the small business scape, and I think now medium-sized businesses are now looking at how, you know, you can really run your business fully online. So we've been working a lot with clients now as to how their businesses can change and using this time, as Basil said. So yeah, you know, take this time, reach out to the experts, automate your business, because there's so many solutions out there now. And as you know, NetSuite and JCurve have said, to help you be at the forefront when we come back firing out of COVID as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Stephen, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, for me, I think this is all going to be about adaptability. So even when restrictions are eased, as one day they surely will, you know, we've got to recognise that we aren't going to go back to how we were before COVID. So social distancing is going to still be in place. Lockdowns might get reimposed. You know, there's a situation that happened in Japan, for example. Demand may be challenged for a long time. The long-term economic damage, we don't know at this stage. I think we've all got to adapt to a new normal. Things aren't going to go back to the way they were before. There's been a seismic shift in everything, you know, how we do business, and so much of what we thought was essential to doing business, you know, it may not be the case anymore. You know, do we still need offices in the future? So for me, that's the key. We've all got to be so much more adaptable than we ever have been before.
Basil?
I guess for us, I think it sort of ties back to what Stephen said, was sort of adaptability. For us, it's we're really been technology focused, and we've aligned ourselves with partners that can deliver on that vision, NetSuite and JCurve as well, and other technology partners as well. And I think for us, take a step back, use this time to look for other opportunities. We are seeing other opportunities in the market, and dip your toe in, learn quick, and the whole repeat and rinse and sort of go through. And there are opportunities. It doesn't look like it, but there are, if you take a step back and have that real growth mindset and actually move forward. And then it isn't a new norm, and we think that there will be challenges at a macro level, and we are focused on using technology to reduce, as I said, our cost of business, to make sure that we're nimble and lean, and our team gets to focus on the really high value adding tasks. So we don't find ourselves in a position where we have to let anyone go, and we're not in that position, thank God. But that's also about adapting to the change and being there for the team is really important.
Great. And Jason?
Look, yeah, pretty much the same as everyone else has mentioned there. So from a vendor perspective, the importance for us right now is all about being empathetic, being flexible for our customers, because each and every customer is, I suppose, looking at this experience very differently, and each business has been affected very differently. From a business perspective, we're really seeing, as Basil mentioned, the importance of being able to move quickly, being able to pivot, and the role technology has in that is absolutely crucial. So those organisations that haven't had the right solutions in place to run their business that allows them to have that flexibility and being able to pivot quickly, I think they're really challenging. They can't take advantage. They can't take advantage of new opportunities that they might know of or might not know of. But if they do become aware, they just can't move on them quickly enough. So one of the big benefits, as you know, Kate, is that for those businesses that are looking to take a move to the cloud, it's very, very easy from a NetSuite standpoint and the JCurve standpoint to deliver these quickly into business organisations, because remote delivery, remote demonstrations, all those sorts of things is standard practice from a NetSuite standpoint. So very easy. It's all about having visibility of your business and being able to move quickly. So that's probably the key takeaways from me.
Fantastic. And we've had a question come through which would be great to get some advice on. So the question is, what's your advice for companies who are not used to technology or cloud solutions? Moving the business online can scare or intimidate some businesses. What's the best approach?
Yeah, I think we've dealt with this a lot, I think, because I've been working in the finance industry, bookkeeping, and that's moved a lot of clouds from desktop products into the cloud. And there's usually a lot of uncertainty about that. And, the cloud is scary for some people. Some people think that as soon as they, go into the cloud, all their data is going to be exposed to the world and all that. So I think it's having a plan, talking to your, your consultants or your experts or JCurve or, whoever you're working with, and having a plan and just asking the right questions and making sure you feel secure with what you're doing. Because often what we've found, as soon as we've launched businesses into the cloud, they're like, oh my gosh, I should have done this 10 years ago. This is fantastic. It saves so much time. There's, with the APIs that are available, there's so many different add-on solutions that can help you run your business. You can often sometimes reduce staff costs. So there's lots of different benefits from it, but I think it's just having that information and having the right information available to your business.
Yeah, I think the key takeaway from that, Brooke, is there's help out there, right? to help you go through this. So
having the support there. Yeah, definitely reach out for the support.
Yeah, fantastic. We've also got a question. How are we managing employees from an HR perspective in working from home?
So we've worked with a lot of HR consultants actually with that. So making sure you've got IT policies at home, making sure that in their contract that you've got some sort of agreement with them, checking in. So using things like Slack to have team meetings, or Zoom to have team meetings, and having that open communications. But we always recommend that you have your contracts reviewed by HR specialists. And making sure that all your policies and procedures are in there as well from that. And also looking at your workers' comp as well, and making sure that certain areas are covered in your workers' comp insurance. And particularly if you've had a downturn in employees, if you've had to let employees go, reach out to your insurance brokers, because there could be a cost saving there on your policy for this current year as well. So just kind of having a review of all that type of thing.
I know running a remote team, we use a lot of the activity tracking within NetSuite. We use dashboards, reminders. We can set other people's tasks and really have good visibility into what people are working on.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah, absolutely. And as per Stephen, that Stephen mentioned earlier on, it's all about communication. Just communication. So hopefully if there are any concerns or issues, you identify them very quickly. I know within NetSuite, we've got a very, very broad range of people from an age standpoint. So we've got graduates that have just come out of uni, first job, and they might not know how to handle this sort of situation. Whereas, an older sort of more grey haired person such as myself, might have, not that we've been in this particular situation, but we've been through ups and downs, through the careers. So, it's really just making sure everyone's open and healthy and well, and that over communication really allows you to spot it early if they do need some assistance.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add to that as well. I mean, in our case, we actually use another company called EmploySure, which has provided us with advice, including obviously from an OH&S perspective. We've taken photos. I've got people take photos of their space, and if we've needed to provide them with office chairs and lamps, we've sent products across to their house just to make sure they've got a safe and secure environment to actually work from home. Because everyone has because the rest of the team is working from home, we've also given people the option to come back into the office because there's no one in the office if they want to. So giving them the opportunity to do that if they haven't got an environment which in the day it accommodates them as well. And but that, so there's a whole heap of things just to make sure that, because they are, even though they're working from home, they're obviously still covered by the business. They're still an employee of the business. So you just need to make sure that everything is safe and secure for them to do that work.
Yeah.
Really conscious of time, but we do have one last question, which is really good and I'm sure quite topical for a number of businesses. So are we seeing a big difference in businesses moving online when comparing different countries like Australia and Asia?
Yeah, I'll take that. We're certainly seeing a lot of interest in Asia at the moment. We're seeing a lot of interest, particularly from the Philippines, and I can only speculate that that's to do with the level of maturity of cloud adoption, coupled with Manila went into a very strict lockdown pretty early, and so I think there's been a big impetus to look at cloud-based technology solutions, especially in the Philippines. But we are seeing a lot of interest in Asia, for sure, and continued interest in Australia. So it's certainly it's going to be very interesting to see how that pans out and whether this is a short-term blip or we're starting to see the start of a long-term growth of cloud adoption across Asia. I predict the latter.
Yeah, I think it's definitely moving in that direction. We've been working remotely now since the business started here. We've got clients all around Australia and I've got staff, in the Philippines, and we've been adapting to that for a long time now. And I think it's definitely the way of the future. And possibly this, having COVID-19, all of us being forced to work in our own homes is to actually, now we can see that it does work. It's just bringing that human element, but it can work. And it is a really good chance now to actually get yourself in the cloud. And there's so many different security systems out there, OCR reading products, different things that can integrate together. So creating your ecosystem for your business will eventually save money and time for your business as well in the future.
We do still have some questions, but let's wrap up there in the interest of time, and we'll respond to those questions offline that are still coming through as well. I'd like to say a really big thank you to everyone for joining us online today. I'm sure you got some real value. There was some really great insights that we unpacked there. And a big thank you to our panelists, Brooke, Stephen, Basil, Jason. Really appreciate your time. I know you're all really busy and have a lot of priorities on at the moment, but that was great.
Thank you, Kate and Stephen, for having us.
Thank you guys for having us.
Thanks everyone, and thanks for listening, everyone.